difficult there, and you certainly could be right. We are seeing some transitions as we get further and further onto the tournament. Like, we're seeing just like a couple of Yuumi bans here and there, but Kiana definitely a mainstay in the ban list as we get on into Champ Select here for this one.
Flamenco fans, of course, coming alive as we get into picks and bans.
Huge.
Pantheon taken off the board after the last game. It does not surprise me one bit. Rek'Sai, though, the first ban coming out for the side of Royal Youth.
Okay, and heading into this one, right, I have to think about what happened to Flamengo. Unfortunately, Robo in the top side had a super rough game, and can they shepherd him a little bit more in this one? You mentioned it before, Kiana is going to get banned away. Do we see anything else flip through? It's like the Renekton's, the Yuumis. Do we see any more jungle bans towards that role?
And Renekton, of course, just very defining in both of these teams' playoffs. Hugely powerful top lane blind pick, as we've seen across the entire tournament so far. Hasn't always lived up to expectations. Really, it feels like Showmaker, one of the first guys we've seen really pop off on the champion. But now the first pick coming in, and would not surprise me. Armut immediately grabbing this. And Armut is a player who I was skeptical about coming into the tournament, but has already proved me wrong. He had a fantastic game one.
Yep, 100%. And even in the game 5 of their qualification series over Supermassive, Jace being a monster performance. Now, we've seen one answer be successful into the Renekton. It was a curious one in the Cleanse Quinn. We're going to see it again? Chances?
Was it a successful answer into the Renekton? Was that what that...
It was, yeah, it won.
It won against a Renekton.
Yes.
And in that sense, successful. All right, well, Nico is now going to be the lock-in.
Yeah.
Balk with the Thresh wouldn't be mine. I enjoyed the Thresh that we saw previously, and of course for Goku, the Nico had a couple of really fantastic sort of outplay moments.
Yeah. Certainly could just go back to basics, exactly what you expect to hear the crowd cheering once again. Comfortable champions for these guys, and especially I like the Thresh lock-in for Lucy on the bottom side. Flamengo, they like to play around the bottom lane. You can just lantern your jungler in, look to get very aggressive early and make these things happen. Of course, it's going to be matched by a very stock standard lane on the other side of the coin.
And I think Kai'Sa Nautilus just so good. Scales very well into the mid to late game. Nautilus with a ton of CC in the kit. Also, a pretty solid amount of kill pressure when you look at the lane overall and the ability to proc the plasma stacks. But now, the Lee Sin coming in for Shrimp. And the Rek'Sai was already a little aggressive. You know, the Hail of Blades coming out, but even more aggression now on this Lee Sin. Even more expectations to keep our eyes on that early game.
Yeah, 100%. Pairs well in terms of a roaming duo. I mentioned, like, you can lantern the jungler in, but if you can get space to roam around as a Lee Sin and Thresh combination, Lucian Shrimp linking up could be incredibly potent in this one, and like to see what they go towards. Of course, it is going to be a little bit of the mismatch. No jungler locked in for Royal Youth, so you expect to see some of them hit the deck there for Flamengo. Is it going to be the Rek'Sai, one of those age-old matchups? Of course, actually banned away already where you can cancel the knockback, so the pool is a little bit dwindling, at least going to be the first one.
Of course, the mismatch on the opposite side, though, is the 80 carry, so the Xayah is going to get taken off the board. BRTT frequently going back to the Ezreal in situations like this, but we've seen his Lucian as well. We've seen picks like the Caitlyn coming out in this tournament, too. So I want to see kind of what his champion pool looks like when the two priority picks are already gone in the Kai'Sa and the Xayah. But the J4 will be the final ban, taken away here from Closer, limiting some of those proactive playmakers.
Yeah, one of his most played champions in the domestic season, 11 games over the course of that one, so makes a lot of sense to ban that one away. And now Flamengo have some choices to make. I would expect it's going to be the 80 carry lock-in. You already see the Kai'Sa. Lucian would make a lot of sense. Of course, with that LeBlanc ban being the last one from Royal Youth, they do split the post. That is okay!
If you are not a fan of the CBLOL, you are about to witness greatness. BRTT is a legend. The Draven axes are tattooed on his arm, and for damn good reason. This man is a domestic monster, the Brazilian double lift, and you hear the fans going wild for it.
Stone cold killer as well. The expression on his face just did not change. The crowd erupts as he locks that one in, and a huge punish lane into the Kai'Sa.
I like the cheeky Blitzcrank cover. Not going to happen this time. Could. Okay, that's why we don't talk about hoverovers. I'm sorry, I've broken the cardinal rule of casting.
I actually really like Blitzcrank into Thresh. Controversial opinion, like completely personally. It's such a good time. Your hook travels quicker, he throws it out. That's a fine matchup.
The card of this, though, the lock-in now for Closer in the jungle. And a lot of, honestly, solid mid to late scaling with the Karthus and the Azir on this team. Renekton nice to balance out the early game too. So how exactly do Flamenco respond? What would their final pick be?
Yeah, that is kind of the scary choice there. Scaling versus early game aggression. Going to be the last lock-in. Nico can be flexed between the two roles. throwing it up into the Renekton topside. You have range to deal with, and that makes sense, and that is going to be the case.
And a very terrifying prospect if you're on the opposite side for Royal Youth. As the Zoe starts to get rolling here, the pick potential between the Thresh, the Zoe, the Nico, even the Lee Sin is monumental. But on the opposite coin, if you get behind, you are never coming back against a Karthus.
Yeah, incredibly difficult. And interestingly, already, this is now two completely different styles we've seen from Royal Youth. We mentioned it, like the Karthus, the Azir, Kai'Sa late game will absolutely be in their hands, but getting there is going to be difficult compared to what they did in the Damwon series. Attack the bottom lane early and look to play that way because it was a weak point. But for Flamengo here, they like to play down the bottom side around the BRTT, the Draven that he has locked in. And Royal Youth, they sit back. They're like, okay, Kai'Sa not very standard. We're good at these champions. Let's let them be and scale up towards the late game.
I have to see BRTT. I think inevitably a lot of eyes on this Draven. You're always waiting for that cash out. You're waiting for that first kill or first death. As costing those stacks can be catastrophic for a Draven lane. But really across the map, outside of mid lane, we have some potentially very explosive matchups. If Robo missteps here up against the likes of Armless Renekton, could find himself never coming back into this game.
Yeah. Certainly could. And I think the big one to watch is going to be the jungle matchup, right? Like, these lanes can be volatile, but Lee Sin into Karthus, lots of room to play with here for Shrimp, and a lot of pressure on his shoulders, I think. In terms of tools that he has available, there is a ton, and early game impact certainly has to make it if they are able to scrounge out any sort of lead heading into this ultimately incredibly important game here for both sides.
Royal Youth versus Flamenco Esports, both 0-1 against Danwon, need to find wins against each other to make it out of groups, to move to the best of fives and potentially the World Group stage. If you had any doubt as to who is the crowd favorite today, probably time to cast it aside. It's very clearly Flamenco.
You would be very stupid, but that's okay. That's okay. 5-man stack. Okay. They do have a Nautilus on the other side, so maybe expecting any sort of invade. Karthus, of course, in this sort of matchup, wants space to play with. So an invade to try and split the map could be a useful play, and Flamengo there with the answer. Not going to spend too much time, and now Goku shepherding in the bottom side of the map.
You can see a lot of caution now. They're not entirely sure where the enemy team is. So while they have protected Shrimp's early pathing, they're not really entirely sure where the Karthus is going. Luckily for them, Closer is not on the bottom side. They're going to push in for a little bit of vision here. And as you mentioned, all eyes on the junglers here in the early game. Yes, there's kill potential in the lanes, but until something happens, you kind of got to wait to see it to believe it. So where is Closer and Shrimp going to go in the first few minutes of this game? But it looks like we have a lane swap coming out. Renekton now stepping into the mid lane. Azir is going to the top side of the map. I believe we've seen this before in the TCL. Willing to put that Azir top lane and just let him kind of farm up and sit back.
Yeah, just chill. In terms of the Renekton versus the Nico, could be rough to deal with, especially like early spiking items. Very cheap there on Robo's side, and range advantage does just get matched by the Azir. In terms of mid lane, like Renekton is no stranger to the matchup, so does make a lot of sense here for Royal Youth. Something interesting, you did see the ward placed on the blue buff of Flamengo on the bottom side. BRTT and Lucy just kind of sitting around somewhat to make sure that they don't lose that one. They, of course, did not see the Karthus at all. 5-man plays at level 1 do sort of cost you the ability to protect all sides of the map. You stack up in one point on Summoner's Rift and you lose control of the rest. So just kind of trying to lock down the bottom side of the map because they have to try and play through it here.
Both level 2s now coming through. In the mid lane as well, Goku kind of playing with fire here. Have to be very careful, very respectful. You saw level 1, not really scared of the Renekton whatsoever. Makes a ton of sense. Even with the pressy attack, just cannot get close enough. But here, level 2 on out, Renekton just becomes a bigger and bigger threat. One missed possession could just kill Goku outright. And he has the heal. That is the good news. He is somewhat equipped for this matchup.
That is true. Certainly true. You can see already as, Bubble's going to land. Armwood doesn't have a point in queue, so heal not available until right now. Hits that level 3 mark where his burst potential, his kill threat does skyrocket, but that was a super good trade there from Goku, and see Shrimp immediately just crosses the mid lane.
And I love it, because that was probably the opportunity for Renekton, knowing the Zoe's cooldowns still aren't there on the Sleepy Trump level, to move in to try to trade back on that massively powerful level 3. But seeing Lee Sin instantly stops that in its tracks, makes sure Zoe can push out that lane and lets them spot out the Karthus too. That said, Karthus farming fine, doubling Lee Sin's farm right now, speed clearing the jungle as expected, and until Shrimp really gets something done, the Karthus will remain, on paper, the stronger pick.
Yeah, 100%. He's entirely cleared every single camp on his side of the map. Of course, doesn't go for the Scuttle Crab, but Shrimp just on the one side took a look at mid lane and was just a reset from closer down on the bottom side of the map. Maybe thinking about a gank attempt. They don't know where the Lee Sin is. They saw him cross mid lane and just trying to dissuade any sort of early pressure. As you can expect, a Draven Kai'Sa matchup, that can go one way and one way very, very fast. So safe play is exactly what you see.
First hook feels like it's going to be huge. Now, Arma, moving up to the top side, was spotted out by the ward, so it does give free license for Goku to push in the mid lane here. And the awkward thing about the Renekton back is it seems like Arma had just enough money to pick up the longsword, has no pots for the lane, so any bad trades, any negative trades are just going to remain stacked against him in this lane phase.
The one thing he does have is being a mid lane, you have access to either side of the river. The melons are super nice. Going to heal you up, but that's going to be few and far between in this sort of situation. So, yeah, as you mentioned, certainly going to have to be careful on this one. Very nice vision control from both of the mid laners right now. You can see deep ward placed up top at the Golem camp. Azir top lane, very, very gankable if you land the snare in Robo's hands, and that's an incredibly easy cleanup. And the same side of the coin, Goku walks bot. They have their deep ward that did just get pinked, so everybody looking for the junglers, because that's going to be the fulcrum with which this game splits.
And the good news is he is the bottom side warded as Shrimp takes to the top side, so good setup, smart thinking ahead of that as BRTT pitches for a few more stacks in this laning phase. Arma, though, a lot less scared. Zoe getting stronger and stronger, much easier for her to clear the wave as more levels come through. Good trade from Robo. But, of course, the kill pressure remains very much the same.
And a very slow first 5 minutes. Infernal Dragon going to be the first one to spawn, so maybe post level 6, post 10 minutes, that starts to speed things up. But Flamingo potentially looking for an opportunity up here. Zero mana.
Shrimp's been spotted, though. Remember, the ward on the Krugs, there's just... You have to wonder, if he dies to this, now the turn, though. Robo, sidestepping, throws out the Stair, not going to connect. Closer there to make sure nothing else happens. It's heal out of mana, and the wave is dead even.
And that's the problem, right? Karthus does so much damage on isolated targets. How did that hit?
And it goes back. Pilot's now going to be in trouble. BRTT is going to take the Lantern in. They've got their eyes set on Pilot. He can't get it. Tolerant stopping the Draven in his tracks. If BRTT found that kill, this lane would have been over.
Yeah, both of these supports coming up clutch aggressively from Lucy. We've seen so many skill shots just snuck through the minion wave. This world's already in a huge opportunity. Summoners is going to be the cost there from Pilot and the reset. So in a lane that was already trending in this direction, matchup dictates that BRTT should have control. 10 CS, 15 is the advantage right now, but you're going to take the tempo base. They want to get the reset off. That does mean the Tolerant holds some of the wave, but advantage definitely towards Flamingo's side of the map.
A lot of money in the back pocket of BRTT. You can see it when he gets back here. The immediate BF sword pickup. See what else he wants to buy. Maybe just going to sit and wait. Goes for, doesn't even need boots. Goes for the extra longsword. This man wants the Bloodthirster. He is not settling for anything less as a first item.
And also Moby's instant buy. You can see the differing decisions there from both of these support players. Tolerant is going to have to weather the storm of the Draven Thresh lane, whereas Lucy has some time and some space to play with. Straight up Moby's buy and immediately links up with his jungler and Shrimp. He can get active on the map. He can gank the mid lane. If the Renekton can't play up in the wave, it's very difficult for him to do anything. So this could spill over elsewhere, but okay. Q in the head.
Closer there to deny the play. A good bit of damage laid down, but obviously no real follow-up, no CC there without the Nautilus in position. And as good as things look to be going on the bottom side of the map for Flamingo, things are a little bit difficult for the Nico on the top side. Was expecting a more favorable matchup up against the Renekton, the range helping her farm safely, but up against the Azir, you can see a 20 CS discrepancy. And once again, Robo struggling here in his first day of games.
And that's the thing, right? Like, RYL have slowed down this early game a ton. All they've lost is that heal and flash on Pilot right now, and it really is the pressure on Flamingo. This is the style of game they like to play, but they have to make something happen. Infernal Dragon is a big objective for them to start up. Look to bring Royal Youth over to fight, but if the game just stagnates in this sort of laning phase, mind you, we're only 8 minutes into the game, but if default play like this happens, it certainly does favor the Turkish representative.
And the later we get, the scarier the Karthus gets, getting closer and closer to the Runic Echoes. Flat Pen as well will make this game a nightmare. Especially for the likes of BRTT, wants as much health as possible in these fights, and even if he can outplay at a certain point, you're just going to get one shot by a Karthus, and then doesn't matter how good you are at pushing your buttons, he only has to push R.
Feels so bad. Karthus ulti, Dark Harvest stacks just do incredible amounts of damage. It's no bueno.
And I'm curious to see what the next big move is. Shrimp's kind of focused for now on clearing out his jungle as the red respawns, but I would like to see more proactive vision set up on across the map. For now, all of these control wards, 3 on the bottom side of the map for Flamingo, but not doing anything with it at this moment in time.
I think they're just torn between 2 decisions, right? You feel like you have to defend Robo on the top side. He's already lost a plate, half mana, half HP-ish right there on the top side, and red buff did spawn, so Shrimp is like, let me clear my camps, and then let's go back towards the bottom lane. You can see him pathing right now, but that's an engage.
Pulling out. Needs to take the Lantern back to safety, taking his time, but they put a ward on top of it. BRTT can't click it. That's going to be first blood coming through for the Kites. Half the stacks instantly gone. A disaster for the Flamingo bottom lane.
And they make it just look so easy. Not ulti down, deny everything available. Flamingo, they're actually looking for this one. Closer has no mana.
They could try to fish for this. They need to hit it on the card. If they kill the Karthus instantly, they may be able to win the fight. The hook does not come through. Armat's here as well. Shrimp needs to get out to safety. Zoe, no priority in the mid lane, means the RYL have total control over the pit for now. They're just going to back off, though. They don't want to risk anything.
It's not an objective taken. There's just a kill handed over, a little bit of gold and a little bit of respite there for the bottom lane of RYL, but the window is the big thing. Closer.
Oh,
does get slept.
Body block is going even now. Draven!
That's it!
It's not going to be the catch-up, but still comes through, and now they're fishing for the fight. Pilot running for his life. He has no mana left. BRTT on the hunt, Tolerant in the pit, and Goku going to snipe it away, and why not start the Dragon 2? Flamingo popping off.
Yeah, very easy access to the Dragon Pit. That's going to get cleaned up, and exactly what they needed. Gold lead wrestled back. BRTT has to feel good about that one, and Shrimp just going to walk away with the solo.
And definitely what they needed on the back of what looked like a disastrous play on the bottom side. Draven starts to fall behind. We talked about it. Against the Kais and Nautilus, you may never get the chance to come back, but there it is. BRTT right back in the game, gets his boots too, has the Hourglass now, and is going to remain a threat on the bottom side.
And it was a very ambitious start. Remember, sitting in fog, looking for that hook over the wall, but bubble lands. They just have the easy rotate. Armwood is just nowhere in this fight. You see top left of your screen, and Goku bends it around the Dragon, but very nicely played, and couldn't have been a better time. Remember what I was saying, like Flamingo have to make it happen right now, and then they get ganked. It's like disastrous, lose stacks, we lose tempo, we lose everything, and finding that window back in is just super integral.
Do feel like they need to break out of the laning phase, though, and now they're going to try. They're moving BRTT to the top side. They do not want Robo in the lane with Seal anymore, and it makes sense. 30 CS discrepancy, not where you want to be. Nasher is now completed for the Azir, but first item is on the way for Robo. Glacial Augment will make some of the fights to come a bit easier for the Flamingo lineup.
As he gets towards those item spikes, we'll feel a little bit better, but with Infernal gone, Rift Herald does become the only thing really left to play for on the map, and as such, you mentioned Flip map is going to be the play. BRTT actually just straight up left alone up here. Nobody in position to respond right now, and Lucy's in.
Forward, Tolerant now locked up. The entire team is here. The Nautilus kicked back, going through. BRTT desperately wants this kill. Tolerant, can't he make it out to safety? One more auto, but no, Lucy takes it. Good kill, but you need the Draven to get that one. Lucy, no. Now this is going to be started up here, however. Flamingo going to continue onto the Herald. Arma now stepping forward. The Renekton is very strong, but has to be careful. Cannot clean up this entire fight. Goku there to support on the backside with the stolen flash as well in the hands of the Zoe.
And just absolutely no buttons to play with to try and even contest this one. Karthus ulti not yet up and available. Azir Seol was looking for a pick in the mid lane, got a flash out, but now all of the objectives on the map, the Infernal down, Rift Herald in the hands of Flamingo. In terms of an early game composition, everything seems to be on the up and up, maybe a little slower than we expected, but everything trending in the right direction.
And overall, just a very good look for Flamingo. Fake BRTT on the top side of the map. It's secretly Robo. But Egypt, when you look historically, in recent years, Turkey has always come out on top of the CBLOL. So to see Flamingo and the CBLOL find this strong early game lead, to look so coordinated in their play, yes, there are some lane discrepancies when you look at Robo's difference in CS, but overall to be this confident at this point in the game is a good look. And you start to see why, for so long, Brazilian fans wanted to see Flamingo representing them on the international stage.
And that's it. Like, you hear the crowd, right? Like, fan favorites coming in. Everybody wants to see them succeed right now. Rift Herald going to be popped, so they're looking to pressure their advantage for a team that likes to play around the early game.
Oh, Robo.
Doing just that. Pilots,
Now retreating. They know which one is the correct Nico. No mana, though. Massive creep wave. Robo can use the ult to get the shield. Pilot just forced back, but there's the Karthus. Uses the ult, wants to get the shield.
Oh,
He's
he
gonna
does!
live! Clean display of the talent, but there, Armut now running for his life. BRTT!
He gets it.
He gets the cash in. Money in the bank for the Draven. Gotta see how much he made, but you can hear the crowd come alive. CPLOL fans are going nuts for BRTT.
Yeah, exactly what they needed. Now looking to almost race against the Rift Herald. Gets bashed into the turret. Plates go into the pocket of the Draven as well. Robo doesn't have TP, so it's a long walk back to the top lane, but still a couple of kills. The gold lead starting to emerge. First brick is going to go the way of the Brazilian representatives as well, and it goes to BRTT. Everything being handed to the start of this roster on his pocket pick Draven.
And now, I mean, you gotta be scared. He's going back. He's buying a Bloodthirster. And at this stage, Flamingo feel like they are set up to take total control of the map. It is almost now it is 3K gold lead and Infernal Drake backing them up. They have the Zoe with Ludens completed, so you have to be so careful about moving into Fog of War. And BRTT is more than enough damage to carry a fight.
Oh. And look at this positioning. Karthus is almost around. They know the dive is coming, but channeling ulti for the top lane play. TPs come in, the hook lands, and Flamingo just get out scot-free. Azir finally lands in the play, but just a little bit too little, too late, and Flamingo walk away with everything. 320 gold discrepancy in the plates. It was a trade on the top side, so not the grossest advantage we've seen of the day, but still 3,000 gold lead, only 14, 15 minutes into the game.
And now, the BT completed, the extra pickaxe. Still, of course, has access to the stopwatch as well, and the first tower is going to drop. It doesn't look like anyone got the local gold there. BRTT, big chunk.
And you know the best thing about being a Draven player?
What's that?
Is you pick it in Champions, like you feel real good about yourself, then you get double Infernal Dragon spawn to start the game. You've already got one in your back pocket. The second one is going to spawn onto Summoner's Rift with a 3,000 gold lead in their hands. It's certainly exactly what they needed right now, and setting up for it. All of the members on your screen looking for the contest.
Oh,
there it is.
This has to be scared. One thing the Zoe's going to be good at. Huge damage coming in. They don't even need to kill the Karthus. Seal goes down.
And we spent last game thinking about siege comps are dead. Normally you think of the Zoe, the Jace, but apparently Draven ulti is the perfect tool to layer on top of the trouble bubble.
And this is the thing. We talked about getting ahead in the early game, and Flamingo have done it now. And this is the point where both the Draven and also the Zoe are terrifying to play against. They had the vision set up, a single bubble hits. It doesn't matter who it hits, they're killing somebody.
And they just have so much follow-up, right? Like, if anything connects, it's a hook, it's a Draven ulti, Nico comes over the top. There's just line skill shots everywhere littered across this roster, and now with double Infernal Dragon, it just makes you even more miserable to be on the other side of that coin.
And the biggest fear is when they get to group. When they start to set up around major objectives, you're looking at a Glacial Augment Nico. Robo has been somewhat of a non-factor thus far in the game, but when you have that slow to set up for an easy sleep land, to set up for an easy hook, things only get harder and harder for the side of RYL. And no matter how much damage you feel like this Karthus is going to do, it's not going to be enough if you die every time a fight starts.
Yeah. Certainly is the case. Engage tools, not the most reliable, so Flamingo have some decisions to make in terms of snowballing this one out, but mid turret looks to be actually dead. Redemption's going to get popped. That was just stolen there from the Zoe. Mid lane turret super impactful as a fallback pattern for a Karthus, for an Azir comp, and just has to get conceded right now as Ciol is in the bottom side. And Flamingo, gold lead, double Infernal. If they're going to walk around the map just so easily, take this turret, it's going to become a very dark Summoner's Rift for the time being for RYL Youth.
To a certain degree, I feel like the pressure is now on the solo laners of RYL. They pulled the swap off to make sure everyone had the most comfortable match that they could. Ciol has a massive CS advantage.
Yeah, huge.
But what does it mean? What are they actually going to do with it? Because for now, Flamingo have just been out executing as a team. And double Infernal means no matter how much that CS advantage feels like it means, stats are still going to err in favor of the side of Flamingo.
Yeah, and I think the big thing is going to be obviously that Baron spawn. We're 2 minutes away, got a little bit of play before that point, but in terms of being able to start that one up. They're not the most tanky composition. They're going to have to set that one up very cleanly against the super long range. And a single mistake, we have seen Baron's thrown at this tournament, but okay.
Shrimp now moving in closer, just instantly taking out the Draven. Now spots out Pilot. They've seen him in the jungle, and now BRTT is on the hunt. Tolerant is not a threat. He does not have a lantern.
Flash.
He will not get a chance. Now trying to get it out to safety. The double kill for Shrimp.
And you can see the attitude in this roster. 3 flashes just straight over the top. They want the kill, and they want it immediately. Goku not even at the play. Top turret just going to get wailed on by the Zoe, and the fight's still going down here.
Trying to get Robo, but that's the wrong
no.
target. Tolerant. Robo trying to make it out to safety. Will go down in the end. Style points for ducking out on the not ult there, but not enough. BRTT now setting his sights on the tier 2. Goku going to take the top tier 1, and the gold lead just exploding for the side of Flamingo. 5K, nearly 6K now in their favor.
Yeah. Shrimp, though. Yol doesn't have much mana down here. Sitting on a pink ward, has an opportunity. He can sneak around behind the minions. Lucy's coming as well. Can he find it? Q.
Good sidestep. Thresh is coming. Seal has to pull a miracle. Burning the TP just to protect him on this one.
Okay.
Arma's here as well. They're setting up a tower, but meanwhile, Draven's in the mid lane. I mean, good timing. The rest of Flamingo were resetting. That could have cost them so much more if Flamingo were on the map.
So yeah, get the TP out for that one. Thresh posturing very aggressively. I mentioned it in Champions, like the duo of the Lee Sin and the Thresh is super scary to deal with. Red buff looks to be the play.
On the way, Pink's coming out. Ooh, good Void Seeker will spot out that the buff is already gone. Those are going to do what he can to take this one. Zoe waiting, I think hoping for the Raptors to die so she could throw out the trouble bubble, but will not do so.
Yeah, they're kind of annoying like that. Just get in the way. As we'll take another look at what happened down here. You can see Shrimp and Lucy just in the right place, the right time. They know the dive is coming and the punish is incredibly swift. Draven flanking from the other side, so Royal Youth just don't have disengage options here. Double flash over the wall. Very easy cleanup, and that was a Royal Youth roster being proactive. Azir, Kai'Sa, they have the Karthus composition, but they were looking for the dive, and Flamingo were ready.
And really, things are only going to go from bad to worse at this point in the game, because now second items are starting to come through. You know, you've got everything you need on the Glacial Augment, Nico. You've got Draven with both the IE and the BT. Zoe working very quickly towards Banshee's Veil?
Sure.
Something. Whatever she wants, really, at this point in the game. Goku very strong.
Has options, and now becomes sort of the risky part, right? For Flamingo, the Baron setup is the only thing that could cost them this game from this point, right? Like, you have to throw back this lead. It is relatively large at this point. They have everything they need to set this one up, and the one thing I will note is they don't have reliable engage. The best they've got is a bubble. It's a Thresh hook, so Royal will have to be very conscious of that as they do approach, but just littering the area with wards, trying to get this control back. Side lane being dealt with. Armor doesn't have TP, whereas Robo does, so map just entirely controlled right now. Flamingo looking to exert themselves on this one.
And I think realistically, really difficult for Royal to do much. Tolerant, you know, you talk about the lack of reliable engage on the side of Flamingo, but it's a similar story for the side of Royal. Tolerant with the Nautilus ult, he's really the most reliable form they have. The hook potentially, but if he can't lock up a Zoe or a Draven, then this fight will pretty much instantly end in the favor of Flamingo. Really want to find a pick here, and they just can't.
Yeah, and if you think about the 4-man unit of Royal Youth that is going to have to face check this Baron, the Renekton's not going to be there. Tolerant is the tankiest man they have. He's got no stopwatch, 0-2, no stats. And if Flamingo are just straight up starting this one up, you can see so many pings. Royal knows something is happening, but can they get there?
Sleepy Trouble Bubble will connect. No chance to proc the Aftershock. That means it's going to be big damage onto the Nautilus. Knockback. Tolerant now in trouble. The Nasher has gone down, and they're on the hunt. Flamingo pushing in for a bit more. Will they walk away with just the Nasher? Oh. Bubble not going to connect. Flamingo will back off for now, but the game is very much in their control. 6K, double Infernal, grab an Ocean just for kicks if you're Shrimp, but just disgustingly large lead. Yeah,
just super clean play. Just zero contest on the Baron. They have complete control of the area, and Royal getting starved out of this one. A little bit too late to the play, and unfortunately, very difficult position to find themselves in right now. The reset comes from everybody but Shrimp. Interested to see if he does actually just stay on the map, but he could happily. He's not going to buy any relevant items at this point. He's got a pink ward in his back pocket. Red buff taken from BRTT. This is almost a 3-item Draven. And the one thing you say is like, okay, he's pickable. He has to stand still. He's not mobile. He has a stopwatch as well, so The 80 carry, BRTT just has everything he needs to look to pressure with this Baron buff.
Robo now moving onto the bottom side. Will spot out, it looks like 2 members of the enemy team. Won't be able to cancel the back, but now Flamingo know that they are free to push forward and try to pressure this objective. Robo continuing to threaten, throws out the hose. If Closer doesn't land these Skittles, he's going to die, but he does a ton of damage. He's forcing the flash out. Robo still with his flash up and available. Much time for the rest of the team. Massive damage from the Draven ult. Armut now caught in the midst of the team. Lee Sin going in. The kick flash back. Shrimp coming through clutch, but Pilot will live in the end. Big damage from the Karthus will not be enough to get anything done in that exchange. BRTT though.
Oh!
That is so 1k damage crits to these minions. Flamingo are just destroying Royal Youth.
And Robo on the other side, he didn't get the kill onto Closer. The resets come through, but now TP to the bottom side. They are unrelenting in their pressure. Looking for the pick over the wall. Tolerant. Is the hook going to land? No, pink ward drops.
BRTT not afraid to step forward here. Making the most of that Bloodthirster shield. Pressing forward. This could be the final siege. Eyes on the Azir and on the Kai'Sa to try to keep this game alive. The Karthus good damage. BRTT locked up, but it's not enough. There's the stopwatch you talked about, Egypt, and now he's caught out. The combo is there. They're killing everyone. It's an absolute slaughter. Flamingo dominating the competition. Armut is too little too late because BRTT is here. The Draven is out, and Flamingo are moving in as they will find their first win in the play-in stage. The crowd in Berlin is alive with the name of Flamingo Esports.
And almost a poetic composition to end your day number 1. The Draven, all of the resources just funneled into BRTT. You can see the look